Hello, how's it going? Welcome to the studio, the tiny little studio. This is my tiny spot. It's beautiful. It works. Rambler. I don't have that much stuff, but I recently just put up my collage art on the wall, so at least there's some stuff up on the walls. And this is a 1960 Ludwig drum set that I inherited, and it came from eBay with a hole in the bottom of the kick drum, but there's a big hole in it anyway, so it doesn't matter, it still sounds good. And the coolest stuff I actually have in here probably are hidden up here because they don't really work that well anymore, like a Krumar Orchestrator, which is a fully polyphonic Italian string synth. It's amazing sounding. It's all the way up in the corner there, you can't see it at all, unless you like point your camera like up there. But it's fine. But I don't really know. I don't if I have a 12-string Dan Electro. I have Epiphone Hofner, Jaguar HH right here, which I've had forever, which is just really loud and present sounding. And this is a Dan Electro. This Dan Electro is just pretty affordable and accessible. It sounds great. And I have some extra pedals. These are mainly the pedals that I use. Yeah, I mean, these are the ones I usually record with, generally. There's some other ones that I do. I recently got this T-Rex replicator, which is amazing. A tape echo pedal, which is actually on right now, rotating. The cassettes are actually rotating in there right now. And this Dynacord is really cool. I mean, I wonder if we can hear it. There we go, it's making some sound. It's just it's a tape delay. This tape delay is cool, this Dynacord German tape delay. It doesn't really function that well, but it works. I use this tape machine for running things through it, basically not really tracking to it, but I've been biasing it recently. I've been trying to modify the ins and outs with it to get the levels right. This is my board from the 70s that is super cheap. You can find it for like $300. It has a spring reverb in it that sounds amazing, and I love that. So, it has a very textural, colorful sound, carbon boards with a bunch of EQ. And lastly is my Porta Studio, which is a cassette machine that sounds so amazingly perfect. 8 tracks on cassette. And it's just bouncing through that or recording every track individually on it is amazing. It has I modify the cassettes to have extra loops so that they're more warbly and wacky. And that's, you know, aside from up there and everything here, you know, that's basically, I have very bare bones setup. I have some extra synths up there, but that's, you know, I just make do with what I have, which is not that much, and I like the limitations of that, so that's what I got, and that's what
it is. Okay, so you have a new album coming out. You just released an EP, Soul Gaze. What was the concept for your upcoming album?
Yeah, it's called Star Harmony, which is like the opposite of Star Wars, and that's just the initial concept behind it, which is that there is some kind of underlying structure of harmony in the universe, living in space rather than in matter, in the space between, or the relationships between things rather than matter. And that was like the core concept of making the album. But I just really wanted to like make this artwork for the longest time, which is like this solar system of palaces. And every palace, there's 12 palaces on the artwork, and there's 12 songs on the album. So I kind of had to like slowly accumulate 12 songs to fit this record, and then slowly make these 12 3D models of these palaces to make the artwork. And it took just a year or so to do that, but it just, you know, accumulating the stuff, and then, but it was just kind of like process-based, because they have that concept, but it was loose. I just focused on finishing the piece of the artwork and finishing all those 12 songs that I decided those are the ones on the album to make it this thing. And it's kind of about the zodiac too, about the 12 months in the year and the 12, and I tried to represent each palace with a zodiacal symbol on the artwork. So there's like an Aries palace and a Gemini palace, and they're color-coded, how I represent them with my associations. And it's kind of like, a couple years ago I thought of the idea of musical astrology, so this is like not necessarily about that, but it's in my current expression of the harmony built into the tracks of planets and invisible fields that permeate our universe.
Mm-hmm. And like everything is like connected.
Yes, and yeah, I've been playing around with this idea, this concept for a little while, which is asking the question, how are the stars lit? What makes the stars light in the universe? What is light in them? So I've been thinking of this, as the universe is expanding, with every expansion there's a contraction, you know? So I imagine all the stars being connected through this network of wormholes. And the wormholes are like sucking in interdimensional air from star to star, which is compressing space and time in another dimension, which is lighting the stars, because it's pulling it's pulling the stars into each other, connecting them, sending information through them, and through that process, it's lighting them. It's lighting all the stars in the universe. And it's just an idea that I've been playing around with, and I kind of wrote this weird poem today for my British friends, I'll just say that, and it's about this idea. I was trying to put it into a very concise format, and I wrote, compressed interdimensional air connects every star in space through wormholes, contracting towards infinities, hence expanding and kindling the flames. So that was the best way I could put it in like something that was like concise or something, but still poetic. But yeah, that's that idea, I guess. I don't know. But I am very organic with how I record music. It's just like musical instruments. They're all vibrating, tangible instruments. There's no electronic or no MIDI or anything like that. So I have to create those ramping up situations sometimes actively, but I do it for myself first to try to feel like, oh, it needs to build here.
Are you like writing a story when you're writing an album?
The stories can appear naturally, and that's what happens with my process. The stories appear themselves. They create a story and a timeline by themselves, and through the arrangement of the songs that you choose, the order of the songs, that also can create a story. I usually don't create a story deliberately. It just reveals itself every time, actually, and it kind of starts to make sense. Like the new album, actually, if you look at all the song titles, it just looks like the chapters of a book telling the story, actually, of what's happening, of like almost like being like exploring these far-off places in other dimensions or space, and then going, feeling like, going through ups and downs, feeling like you're flying blind, and then getting a map to finding where you need to go, and then being lost in your mind anyway after it all. So all these different ups and downs that we can go through. So the story just revealed itself automatically. And I love the process of automatic creation, where you just can create and let things happen. And they start to bloom out if you just let them. The story. I love deliberate storytelling too. I mean, music has always been storytelling, which I don't do, really. It's more just music. And the story can actually reveal itself sometimes, and just start to form its own coherence with like a whole album structure. You could just arrange it that way. But I love just finding the mysteries in your own work. You're like, this is actually telling a story that I didn't even know about, So it's just like, for me, it's just an uncovering process, kind of.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it's fun, but it makes for just more freedom in the creative. So you don't have to limit yourself to a specific idea. You just make the sound. I follow my ear with the sound. I make what I want sonically, and then everything else seems to fall into place. My body lets me know. Mm-hmm. I do have like this very defined palette that I can't seem to break out of, but sonically. But depending on, if I'm hearing something in my head, that's the best thing. If I'm hearing something, a melody in my head or an idea, it just comes to me and I record a voice memo, that if I actually make that, and I follow that through, I'm just blown away sometimes by how that developed by itself, and just following those inner intuitions and stuff. But in general, it's like, I'll just be messing around with, kind of tediously with the tones or the chords, but then if you listen to your heart, you can feel little subtle tingles in your heart or elsewhere in your body, and that's your body, I feel like, telling you, like, that feels right. Even if it's weird. It's like, for me, I'm like, that is what I want, is that tingle sensation. So I'm kind of like testing my biology of when I'm playing certain things.
You know what? I was doing yoga one time and I like turned on and Zoom came on and it made like my body like internally like change while I was doing it. I was trying to like really be mellow and like Zoom definitely like picked me up a notch.
Nice.
I felt like I was coming up on acid.
Oh my god. that is kind of high energy and just kind of fun, and yeah, that's pretty like yeah, it's a crazy desert ride for doing yoga. It's kind of intense. I would love to make more ambient music that's more chill too. That's like more conducive to supporting those kind of experiences. But I can't seem to.
I like it when I'm driving too. Like
I make music for driving.
Yeah.
Because that's when I listen to music loud.
Especially like looking at like the mountains around LA when I'm like on the freeway and like I turn up your music.
I would drum on desks when I was like in elementary school in Utah to like as a stim, you know, like, and I always did this beat that was like, I always did that as a kid. And then we were having a meeting at Non Plus. I was like 23 years old, so many years later. And I started drumming on the desk again, stimming, because I didn't want to talk in the meeting. And then I'm like, that's the beat I've been playing since I was like 8 years old. Why have I never recorded that? And then I went in my studio and I made that song.
Wait, that's like awesome.
Yeah, it was a long time. It's just playing it on desk. It's just this kind of a funky beat or something. But then my band members, like James Lake was my drummer at the time, or Ian Gibbs and Billy Winger, they showed me like Herbie Hancock thrust, this good 70s music that has funky grooves in it, that introduced me to this whole new palette and realm of rhythms, and that coalesced with that beat I've always played, and then I just kind of made the song based on these combinations of things, and some ambient sounds in there in the song too. But yeah, it's just, I love driving around LA and like just looking at the mountains and blasting good music and feeling the harmony of the lushness that exists here.
Like funky music to a desert background.
Yeah,
it's like amazing.
Absolutely, yes. And there's just something about that twangy guitar with the whammy, with the, you know, of that, you know, like Italian spaghetti western sound, but it is like sounds like heat waves of hallucinations in the guitar. It's like the synesthesia of the desert heat waves represented collectively by millions of musicians that have made that guitar tone, you know, so it's like we agree on this. There's some things we agree on synesthesia-wise collectively, I feel like, so. And I'm really interested in that, like what we can agree on, so. Yeah, like what we share, like it's something that is beyond our subjective point of view, you know, something that is like that we.
Yeah, like a universal.
Yeah, universal
truth.
Constants and truths. Exactly. That's what I'm constantly interested in. But
yeah. Well, I feel like that kind of like goes into my question about like does society affect your music? Do you think you would try to like change society with your music? Are you trying to like?
I wish to. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would wish to change society with music. It's more easier said than done. People have the active intention to change culture and society, like David Bowie or something. They know they're playing the specific role that's representing something specific in culture and society, a progression in culture and society. Maybe I am, but I don't know exactly what that is. It's not as defined. And but like things that are happening in the world, you know, just everything, all the complexities in the world definitely inform what I'm doing. And sometimes I have to make a joke song to deal with all the heaviness of the world, or I'll make a song. I made a song that was on the last album, Porta Symphony, which is one of two that came out at the same time. But it's about the, like, you know, it's called It's called Polarized, and it's just about the polarization of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Like I actually wrote a song with the specific intention of, like, you know, just the binary duality that exists there. And that was, I rarely have specific subjects like that in songs, but I do, and they are informed by what's going on in the world and society and current events, but it's not as often as when I just make something impressionistically, more aesthetically. It's kind of when I'm more.
What does your flow look like when you're like creating something? What's your process to get into your flow?
Yeah, so I kind of am a cold brew fanatic. You don't have to be. I don't think it's necessary at all. Totally unnecessary, but I drink cold brew, and it just kind of gets me in a little bit of a heightened state. It's just really dedicating time to do it, and like setting aside this day, these few hours, this while to do it. And when I have planned that in advance, and I show up at the studio to work on something, music, even if it's to get into the flow, it's really just, it is a patient process. And sometimes it doesn't happen automatically. And it is a bit of a mystery to me how it happens. But I think just the act of dedicating the time, for me at least, I've thought about it a little bit in advance. It's okay if you haven't actually, but just showing up, almost like working for yourself, for your own creativity, like almost like a job. And it just, not forcing it, but it just kind of falls into place, setting aside the time, if you can, even just once every 2 weeks, or setting a good chunk of time for yourself, for your private time, or if you're collaborating with somebody, for the time for you can just share with one another, because that's what we're lacking. It's like the resource we're lacking so much in most of the world's society is time, and I think that's what it's all about. It's just spending the time on it, and it accumulates into something beautiful naturally without even trying. Because it's just building on top of itself, and it builds into something beautiful over time naturally. It always works for me. You could set aside that amount of time, structure it, and that's what kind of gets me in the flow. Because if it's just, there's spontaneousness in my life, but it doesn't really work like that for me with creativity. I feel like I set it aside, the time, and have that time, so I'm not feeling like I need to do something else. It's just set aside for that, and that kind of automatically gets me in the flow process. I don't really have much of a spiritual meditative ritual practice to get into the flow state. It's just the music itself and listening to your thoughts and undulating between what you're doing and leaving maybe and just taking a break, coming back with some fresh perspectives. That undulation is critical actually to it.
I do sometimes feel like creativity is like a muscle.
Yeah, you get more comfortable with being irrational, because it's just as valuable as being responsible, rational, getting all the things done that you need to, that are necessary for survival and happiness in life. But then there's also the very necessary irrational creative side that also needs to be balanced with our life. And throughout the year, there's certain times of the year, maybe for certain people, that you see those themes come up of you feel more creative or more rational or more responsible. But just honoring that creative and giving it the time as much as you can.
Last one.
Yeah.
What's your favorite song off your new album?
Oh, shit. The most recent one I made was called Bluephoria. It's just like, it just has a really smooth, chill, ambient kind of feel to it. It's very blue sounding. And I just love blue, and I don't know, it's simple, but it has that deep blue oceanic kind of emotion that I'm always longing for. And it's inspired by I see this is where I always blank, thinking of people on the spot. Mystic Brew. It's inspired by Mystic Brew by Ronnie Foster. That's it. Wow, that came out of nowhere. Thank you.
That was good timing.
Thank you.
I don't even know if it's that good of a song. And I definitely don't want to be like Jim Morrison light, but
Okay. Now, it's important. My favorite thing to put in my mouth besides sativa, not indica, matzo ball soup. Duh. I mean, duh. But it's a close second to Sativa Williams. My first child's name. I'd name my two children after my two favorite things in life, Sativa Williams and mac and cheese Williams.
Wait, can you do it again?
Yeah. L'chaim. I mean, that's how you build a pyramid. You just focus on one step at a time. And then eventually you accumulate this monstrosity of stuff. And you're like, how did I get here? Just by going one step at a time. But yeah, it's just a little bit every day. Kaizen. Have you heard of Kaizen? It's the Japanese concept of getting a little bit better every day. I love that.
I love that.
It's just like practice, you know, just a little bit of practice every single day, and you'll just master multiple things. But yeah, I love that. My friend Eddie told me about that a long time ago. Eddie's cool. Eddie's awesome.
Oh.
Only a shadow, 'cause it looks like you. Only a shadow.
It's the cleaners from Venus.